Hello and welcome to Bit Heroes Radio. I'm Bitverse Andy, and I'm thrilled to be hosting this podcast with World Eater. World, why don't you say hello?
Thanks, Andy. I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to share all the tips we got today with our viewers.
Yeah, so quickly just going over the agenda for what to expect from today's episode. Today we're going to be covering some recent Bit Heroes news. We're going to then get into our subject of Tier 2 camping, followed by our Fashion Heroes segment, and answering some viewer questions. So World Eater, what's up with the latest news?
All right, to start off the news, we're going to be talking about Mobileversary. At the time of recording this event isn't just out yet. The event will begin April 27th, 2023, and will more than likely include an event shop. Andy, do you have any tips for this event, by the way?
Yeah, totally. So with the Mobileversary event coming out soon, you definitely want to take advantage of getting that new event shop currency. I'd highly recommend, if you're going to be using energy to run dungeons, to instead run Dungeon 4s or D4s. D4s give more of the Sardanex shop currencies than the other dungeons, so you can easily farm event shop more efficiently this way. You can also use your PvP tickets as well to get more of the event currency as well. This is actually known as the fastest way to get the event currency. And if you also partner this with Thursday during the event, which during the event, Thursday's PvP item find daily bonus will be doubled, that should be pretty juicy for you.
Remember, guys, Thursday bonus will linger around for 2 hours after reset on the first day of the event's launch. So ideally, popping a Bitgore would be pretty smart if you want to take advantage of the Thursday 2-hour bonus for PvP at the beginning, and then continue it off with the experience bonus on Friday on that Bitgore. Remember, 10% of all experience gained is converted into guild honor, which you can then spend on other resources to continue your farm. I highly recommend buying Zeals for loot if you're trying to focus loot, or PvP tickets if you're trying to maximize the currency in the event.
Yeah, so some other recent news is the Bitverse has come out with their official Bitverse Reddit over at r/BitverseOfficial. This is where Bit Heroes players can connect with one another, share strategies, and discuss all things Bit Heroes. The devs have really stressed that they are looking to Reddit for feedback, both good and bad. So go on over to r/BitverseOfficial and let them know what you love or what you think could use improvement in the game. But, take it easy on them. Another quick news piece is that the Bit Heroes Runner new map has come out, or the new adventure has come out, that's known as Skull Bay, that's coming with a pirate theme. And I'm pretty happy with it because I got a new pirate hat.
Wow, a new pirate hat for Skull Bay, huh? Seems very, very interesting, Andy. Honestly, can't wait to see it. And for the Reddit, honestly, I really do like that they are going to be focusing feedback. It's really awesome. Can't wait to share all of my thoughts on there. Don't worry, I'll be as nice as possible. So let's go ahead and continue on with today's main topic, Tier 2 camping. So Andy, why do you camp in Tier 2?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I mostly tier camp for the gems. So when you're in Tier 2, the event leaderboards, so when you're in Tier 2, you only have access to PvP and Trials/Gauntlets. And the event leaderboards give hundreds, if not thousands, of gems. For me, just running my regens on my Tier 2 camper, I'm able to get 900 gems from PvP and 900 gems from Trials Gauntlet, ranking in the top 250. And then also just running through things like dungeons, I usually get around 2,000 gems per week, just running regens.
Wow, honestly, that's impressive. And that's just for the average runner. You don't have to go crazy hard on it. I'm pretty sure Andy here doesn't do more than around level 50 gauntlet. And that's still getting a lot of gems. So just knowing that, you already know that it's extremely easy to benefit off these Tier 2 campers if you have an NFT, of course. And if you're just camping normally, it's still beneficial because you can camp there for a while, get what you need, and then move on and pretty much progress through the tiers.
You definitely put me on blast there, World. I do only get up to about 50 in trials. Kind of a noob move, but hey, it gets the job done and I'm getting my gems. So
Sorry about that, Andy. Had to put it on blast. Currently, I'm doing level 115. And the only reason why I brought that up, guys, is because if you do want to try to maximize everything by doing your tokens on one token every run and climbing up until you really can't go anymore, it will maximize your gems. So if you're trying to get the most gems possible, this is usually with people that have less NFTs or just using one tier 2 account as their main account. You're going to want to do that so you can maximize the amount of gems you get weekly. So instead of getting around 2,000, you can get around 2,500 plus, all the way up to 4K, depending on how good you push and how strong your camper is.
Yeah, I'm a dirty 5 token user, so definitely take that advice, and be more like World, everybody.
So, in my opinion, if you're going to be focusing just around one or two tier 2 accounts, you want to try to maximize as much as possible by doing those one token runs. And then once you can't go any further, transforming them into 5 token runs, making sure that you do beat them all. Because if you fail any, you will be losing a lot of placements on the leaderboards, placing you even lower. My ideal scoring is around top 50.
Now, I do want to mention the power that bringing NFT tier campers can bring as well. And when you have an NFT on your account, your gems as well as gold, as well as boosts like Bitgores are shared between your heroes. So what goes hand in hand with the gem income I was talking about is that on my main hero, I'm able to take those 2,000 gems a week and use them. So I pretty much use my tier camper as like a gem slave for my main hero.
Yes, and pretty much the more and more you stack, pretty much the more gems you get. If you're able to play around 3 to 4 accounts regen daily, even if you don't play your main at all, those 4 accounts can get you 2,000 gems each every week. And honestly, that is an incredible amount of gems to get weekly. Not to mention, you get daily login rewards for every character you have, pretty much equaling out to 5 Bitgore from your normal character and your 4 other NFTs, making it very, very viable.
One question I get asked a lot, and I want to ask you, World, is what should people be spending their gems on as a tier 2 camper?
So, in my honest opinion, if you're going to be trying to maximize the amount of gems you get weekly, you're going to want to invest in your tier 2 camper a little bit. Not everyone is keen on this opinion. Some people just save all the gems for their main, but the stronger your camper is, the easier it is to place higher. The higher the placements, the more gems you get on average. So if you don't mind, just splurging a little bit on your tier 2 camper or your NFT, whichever it is, I would say trying to get at least an epic pet and accessory. Honestly, those are the main things. If you want to spend any more, I would just say rolling brain bags so you can get brain augments.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, if you do want to be a like top 1% tier 2 camper, you can do things like buying Bitomat barrels to get yourself mythic materials and eventually craft yourself mythic, accessories, runes, enchants, augments, all that good stuff. And one other thing, if you want to get like one of the best familiars for tier 2, you can also consider bribing Gabi, who goes into the fusion Robbie, who's one of the top tier DPS familiars. And super quick, I do want to call out a super sweet video by World that is a tier 2 familiar tier list. So definitely check that out. It has seriously helped me pick out which familiars I'm targeting on my tier 2 camper, and there will be a link to that video in the description below.
Thanks a lot, Andy. And I want to call out a video by Andy that is also about tier 2 camping in Bit Heroes and goes over how to earn those sweet, sweet gems. Make sure you stop by both of our channels and check out what we got. I'm pretty sure what we have will do more than help you. You'll be thanking us later, I promise.
Yeah, thanks, World. I appreciate it. Another question that we get is how long should players stay in tier 2? Let's say it's not an NFT character. Maybe you're a free to play and you're considering tier 2 camping to stack gems. How long would you say you would recommend to stay in tier 2, World?
So if you're planning to progress with your tier camper from tier 2 onto current tier or whatever, I highly recommend making sure that you at least have a legendary pet and accessory before continuing. Make sure it's not the guild pet or accessory, which I know NFTs can get and regular ones can get also. Regular accounts can get also, as long as they're linked to an NFT. Those don't count. Unfortunately, those don't give you what you need. So just make sure you get a real legendary pet and accessory. And I would honestly say try to save a good amount of resources up. Don't use any of your bit gores while you're camping tier 2. I know it seems tempting if you want to try to catch up, but you really got to try to fight those urges. Save everything you can, get as many materials as you can, and try not to pop any boosts until you really are stuck.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think being super patient is key. If you start your grind with a legendary pet and accessory, you are ahead of so many players and you'll definitely fly through some of those earlier tiers. So I definitely agree with you there, World.
And the cool thing is, camping tier 2, it's extremely easy to get a legendary pet or accessory. Whether you're free to play or pay to play, you can either buy a pet or accessory when they're in the shop, or you can just, use all those gems from all the rewards you get on your weekly resets to, roll the chests. And honestly, I really do think it's extremely easy to reach the goals you want to and then progress. If you want to min max, stay in tier 2 as little as possible, get the legendary pet and accessory, maybe have about 5+ bit gores, which is very easy to get camping tier 2, and just go on your way. Maybe save a bunch of raid shard baskets. I personally like to have a lot of gems on deck because I like to, oh my God, it's just there's so much. I don't know when to leave tier 2 because I don't want to leave tier 2, Andy. I don't want to leave tier 2. Honestly, tier 2 is heaven for me. I love it down here. The community is awesome. It's very, very competitive, but also very, very lax at the same time. So I personally would just stay in tier 2 if you're trying to get out as quickly as possible. Just around the time you have a legendary pet and accessory, that's around the fastest you want to get out. So even if you're only there for like about 2-3 weeks and you get a legendary pet and accessory, that can get you to end game pretty easily depending on the pet and accessory you get. But if you want to try to have a smoother run, try to save up some bit gores, over like 4 or 5 if you can. Save some gems for bribing familiars or just buying more resources, and try to have a decent stockpile of resources to actually play. You don't really have to pop a boost or do anything until tier 12 anyways if you do have a legendary pet and accessory. So it should be a pretty smooth run having just those things, which honestly doesn't take too long.
Yeah, no, stacking gems makes stacking resources kind of a breeze in tier 2. So I agree. It won't take too long for you to get all those things you mentioned and get out of there. So,
Andy, I know you have a stinky tier 1 camper. What's that about?
oh, oh yes, my tier 1 camper, the famous can't beat Z1D3. So I do tier 1 camping. It's half as efficient as tier 2 camping because you don't have access to trials and gauntlets, which also means you can't get my Tineral. So that's definitely worth noting. And you only get 1 leaderboard's worth of gems. So it's about 900 when I just run regens per week. I do it mostly because it's like a new type of challenge for me. Tier 2 camping is a lot of fun, and it's a new challenge from, my main heroes. But tier 1 camping is even another ball game because you have access to, pretty much half as many familiars. It's different strategies than tier 2. It's more painful, and I love that type of challenge. So I mostly do it just because it's fun.
Honestly, I would never camp tier 1. Sounds way too painful for me. You're a very strong person, Andy.
Yeah.
So, in my honest opinion, I really do think tier 2 is where it's at. But tier 1 does have some viability if you're just trying to do something quicker, but just know that you are going to be losing the other half of the gems on reset. Let's go ahead and move on to more meta things involving tier 2, just in case you're a little more interested on how to stay on top. So, in my opinion, one of the most important things other than your pet and accessory in tier 2 is going to be the brains you put on your familiars, whether they're offensive or defensive. Andy, what is your honest opinion on what brains are better for PvP in tier 2?
Oh, what a question. I think when you're rocking PvP, offensive brains are really good because if you can get the first kill on the enemy player, it's pretty much a GG. Now, in terms of trial/gauntlets, when you have to survive wave after wave and, those bosses are just knocking you down and it's sort of more of a survivability game, I would definitely opt more for defensive brains, things that shield your team, heal your team, and that kind of thing.
I completely agree. There's a lot of different things you can do in tier 2 when it comes to brains. Back to PvP for a second. The offensive brain thing is exactly what I would say. It's not like current tier where one person can solo the whole team. Every familiar matters in tier 2. So even if you blow up, your familiars can still wipe the enemy team very efficiently. You can either use attack when you hit brains on someone like Pangs, Dryad, or Robbie, or you can have attack team kind of offensive brain or something like that when you get hit on someone like Yobo, or a speed tank bait like Pangs. People build different things down there. I know it sounds weird, but those are the best options. If you have too much defensive stuff, you're just going to get chipped down slowly until, it's over. So offensive brains for sure in PvP, and I couldn't agree with you more on Trials Gauntlet. From personal experience, I can't get past, I'd say, 60 or 70 with offensive brains, but I can go extremely far with defensive. So make sure you have everything you need for both types of content.
One other quick thing I want to mention, and this is for people that might be just, you're busy all day, or you already play on 5 characters and you're like, gosh, that sounds fun, but I don't have time for another character. Playing on tier 2 and especially tier 1, for all the tier 1 Andys out there, the playing on tier 2 is a lot quicker than your normal hero. You only have energy, PvP, and trial/gauntlet. So you're not having to do raids, you're not having to do invasion/trials, and you're not having to do world boss. So no waiting around for carries or anything.
Yeah, it's a lot faster. I could honestly say it takes around 5 to 10 minutes to farm tier 2, just depending on whether it's trials or gauntlet. It's very, very easy. And if you're just trying to get the gems and you really don't care about being extremely strong in tier 2, you don't even have to use your energy. You can literally just use those 2 and that's it. So very, very simple. If you're just trying to have some gem farm, you don't really have to focus the energy. It's way faster with just PvP and TG.
World, I know you called tier 1 campers stinky, but to even double down on that point, you don't even need to do trial/gauntlet. You can just log in and do your PvPs. So, hey, little pro tip for the tier 1 campers there.
I guess if you say so, but you're still going to be missing out on a lot of gems. But I guess since we're talking about PvP here, I kind of do want to mention. Something else. If you're trying to min-max and you are trying to pretty much score higher, don't use your PvP coins on more tickets or on gems or anything else. Only use it on stat points. Stat points go a very, very long way in the early tiers because that's pretty much where you're getting the higher points from. The higher your TS, the higher the TS opponents you fight. The higher the TS the opponents you fight, the more points you gain from each fight. The more points you gain from each fight, the higher you place on the leaderboards. So you want to have as much stat points as possible on your tier camper. I know it sounds tempting to just buy more tickets and place higher for that week, but in the long run, the stat points will give you more. Trust me, it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it any better. Stat points are super important for like long-term high leaderboard placement. So definitely focus on getting those with your PvP coins.
Hey Andy, when you said consider bribing gobbies, I don't really know what that means. What does persuade and bribe mean?
Well, world, I am so glad that you asked. So when you capture the attention of a familiar, you can choose to either persuade or bribe them to add them to your team. Persuading is you can spend gold for between a 10% to 40% success chance to catch that familiar. And bribing is when you can spend gems for a 100% guaranteed familiar catch. Now, the price in gold and gems will go up and down with the rarity of the familiar.
Wow, those sound awesome. Do you think we can persuade the audience to like and subscribe?
Oh, absolutely. And if not, we may just have to consider bribing them.
Oh God, I don't know if I can afford that.
Oh man. Okay. I want to give a shout out to the Bit Heroes Wiki for this episode's wiki highlight.
All right, and let's go ahead and move on to our next segment, Fashion Heroes. Previously, it was Rothy versus Revy. A bunch of people were kind of telling us what they thought in the comments. Other people reached out to us as well in DMs, and it was a very, very close match. Can we go ahead and get a drum roll, please, on who won? And the winner is Rothy. Congratulations, Rothy. You won.
Yeah, big congrats to Rothy. Revi was looking cute, but Rothy was looking sick and won the viewers' hearts. So big congrats, Rothy. You will be added to the Bit Heroes Radio Discord's Hall of Fame. And now, introducing our next contestants for this week's Fashion Heroes. First up, we have Aaron Asimov. Now, Aaron is looking pretty sick. He's got that lightning effect going behind him. I love that swirling blade shield and that sort of cyborg eye. What are your thoughts, World?
I like it a lot. I really love that chest piece. It's very clean. It has the cape pretty much blowing in the wind, and that offhand always looks super sick. If I had to say anything, it's just maybe it's not as color coordinated as I would like it, but I can kind of see what they're going for, and it looks really good in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And our second contestant is Pocket Apple 8104, who is also bringing lightning to the table. This time it looks like yellow sparks. You know, rocking those glowing yellow eyes, the big glowing yellow scythe. Also going for a sick look. What are your thoughts, World?
Personally, I love the headpiece, I love the body, and the main hand. It's just a candle that's throwing me off a bit, but very, very clean look. I really can't say anything else about it. I love that they're both electrifying.
Ooh, yes. Looks like we'll have a shocking decision from the viewers this week.
Oh my god. Oh, yes. Please leave your vote in the comments section below for who you think deserves to win this week's Fashion Heroes competition. And if you want to be featured in a future Fashion Heroes segment, leave your in-game name and hero tag in the comment. And you just might be featured in a future episode.
Absolutely. Now moving on to a couple of viewer questions that we've gotten this week. The first one comes to us from Chili Jack, who asks how to optimally run Bitgore. World, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, to optimally run a Bitgore, my biggest tip would be to run it on an experience day like Friday. Friday, in my opinion, is best because having that little bit of item find doesn't benefit you as much as having that much more experience. Because remember, like I said earlier in the video, that you do have 10% of your experience going into Guild Honor, which you can then use to get other resources to farm, like zeals or tokens or anything you want really, other than I think raid shards. So if you're trying to maximize your Bitgore, you want to be running as much as possible. So I would say make sure you run it on an experience day like Friday.
Yeah, totally. A couple of tips from me is I'd recommend doing a lot of fishing and maybe even taking the day to try on some new cosmetic pieces. You know, you really just want to, kick back, relax, and don't take advantage of the boost. So I'm just kidding. What I would recommend is make sure that you're doing it on a day where you have time to grind. You know, it's a 24-hour boost, and it's one of the biggest boosts in the game. You do not want to waste it you do not want to waste it by being busy that day. You want to be able to really take advantage of it. Try to also use currencies if you've got them, like extra tokens, zeals, whatever you got, and really just try to take advantage of it. You don't get too many Bitcores, and they are some of the best days to progress your accounts.
Agreed. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question that we have here for today. This is from Just a Man Wearing Purple. I understand the point of tier 2 camping, but what's the point of camping past that? Is it just to try to get higher ranks in events to kind of set yourself up? Or am I missing something? Because most tiers I go through have a few of them. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, some people just do it for fun. I've literally heard people's reason for tier camping in tier 8 or tier 13 is just for fun. Now, for me, a reason you might want to stay there for a little while is you might need legendary materials from that tier when you're up tiering certain ancients. So you might want to stay there, get, a few hundred or a few thousand extra of that legendary material.
Yes, for sure. Another reason why people camp there is just because they like being the best. And if you want to try to be the best at something, why not pick a tier and try being the champion there? I know for a fact I'm not the strongest in tier 2, but I can easily say I'm one of the top 10 strongest tier 2 campers. And it feels really good. You should try camping a tier sometime. Very, very fun. Just like Andy said, though, people are there mainly just to up tier stuff and catch up on familiars. That way it's easier for them to progress through the tiers after that.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning into this week's Bit Heroes Radio. We hope you enjoyed listening to our discussion today about all things Bit Heroes. And as always, we want to give a big shout out to our community of fans who make this podcast possible.
Andy and I had a great time. If you have any feedback or suggestions or viewer questions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. You can also reach out to us on our Bit Heroes Radio Discord, which you can find a link to in the description below.
Super quick before we sign off here, we want to remind you to subscribe to both of our channels on YouTube so that you never miss an episode. Please visit both my channel, Bitverse Andy, and World Eater's channel, World Eater, which you can find links to in the description as well. And if you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a like and a comment, as it helps other Bit Heroes discover our podcast.
Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Bit Heroes Radio.